Cat TV is celebrating 30 years of community media. Help support Cat TV's next 30 years by becoming a member today. Your membership will help us continue covering meaningful, local content. Thank you for supporting your local community media station.
Good evening. It is 7 o'clock. This is the Village of North Bennington trustee meeting for the month of July. We are at the depot. We have a hybrid meeting, and joining us via Zoom is Matthew Patterson, trustee chair, vice chair, and Lori, our clerk. Those of us in the depot who are signing on, please do so with no sound. Okay, so we shall call the meeting to order here at 7:01. First order of business, I had sent this out. Hopefully you all have copies of it. And I would like for us to review and approve rules and procedures for running this meeting and any other meeting of this body, which is the trustees. This came to being as I was taking some online seminars for how to be a good trustee through the VLCT. And this was like prime best practice that we should adopt. So there are a couple of things in here which we should look at and vote on. The first one is under item C, organization, Section 5, motions made by members of the body do or do not require a second. What is this? What would this board like to see as to whether we do or do not require a second on a motion?
My experience has always been that a second is a good idea. I like that.
Okay, Scott is voicing preference for a second.
And I don't disagree, but I know John had gotten rid of that provision, but it does feel better. Yep.
Okay, and I think if memory serves me, he was doing that because there were some special rules adjustments during COVID when everything was, Lori is nodding, when everything was via Zoom.
Right.
And that was a temporary thing.
No, I agree. Correct. I agree that, at least having a second member of a 5-member board wanting to take action makes sense.
Okay, so is the rest of the board in agreement with that we say we do require a second?
Yes, because it still goes to a vote.
Yes. Okay. The other thing that is perhaps important for us now that we are doing hybrid meetings is point number 7, that it says any member of the body may request a roll call vote. However, when one or more members attend a meeting electronically, a roll call vote is required for all votes that are not unanimous. So we will bear that in mind, or I will, especially as we go forward with hybrid meetings. If we have votes that are not unanimous, we will just do a roll call. The other thing that we should be looking at is under Section D, agendas, item 2, which is going to be the same issue as Section E, item 2. And that is that physically posting notices and agendas are required in a minimum of 3 places, preferably up to 5. So in here, I have, and they must be consistent. So we have always listed the depot in the North Bennington post office. And eventually we will have our northbenningtonvillage.org website that counts, but it is not that's not also a physical posting place. So we need one and or two more. The library has agreed that they will keep a binder with village business available for anyone who wishes to see it. And especially as the library opens to the public, which should be another month from now, that would be helpful. And then Lori, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, you put things on Front Porch Forum, which I believe is getting to be a very commonly viewed site, and perhaps just noting things on their calendar would be a good practice too.
Sure, if you'd like
What do
to
you
do it
think?
that way.
Well-
You know, when I mentioned to you in an email a day or so ago, I vary the places because I don't feel like everyone sees Front Porch Forum. Not many people buy the banner anymore. So I tried at the school. A lot of people look at it when it's on the school window, but I don't do that in the summer, of course. So I'm really trying to figure out the best places. I've always done the post office.
Yeah. Well, since we need more rather than less, the idea is that you're not going to find one place that suits everyone. Even once we have a website, that may not suit everyone. So, you know, capturing more people rather than less would be nice. The reason they suggest it be a specific set of places is that this document eventually should be available to the public, and it will be listed on, it will be on our website under our, you know, village business and things once we get there. So these places will become a matter of public record. But it's up to you. You're the one that posts it. We can do the depot, the post office, and the library. We must have 3 physical places, and then it can be up to 5. Your website doesn't count as one of those 3 places.
But Lori, you've managed to always meet the standard of the statute, right?
Yeah, with 3. I generally don't do more than 3, but sometimes 4. But Mary, what you're saying is they have to be a consistent spot, because like I said, you know, spending money to put it in the banner, really people don't see it there, but a lot of people do see it at the school, but they're not going to see it at the school in June, July, and August, you know?
Right.
So,
Well,
but we could do depot, post office, library, and front porch for now.
Okay.
And add if we feel like we need to add.
Yes, because this policy must be revisited annually. So the first or second meeting after each new board sits, this document will come up as an order of business. Yes, question.
I'm comfortable with Lori's recommendation.
Okay, Tara has a.
Is there any, you know, merit to putting it on the Facebook North Bennington group? It's got 1,100 members in it, and our village has 1,100 members. So, you know, it's a group that a lot of people in North Bennington do track.
I'm thinking that I don't Facebook, so I would be the last person to ask.
Just in terms of availability,
yes,
because those who don't use Front Porch Forum may use Facebook.
Okay, well, I don't make it so that it becomes overly cumbersome. I would defer to what's easiest for Lori, because we'll have 3, and we will have our own website.
Yeah, I don't feel comfortable with putting up official business on Facebook. I don't validate that particular forum is legitimate for this kind of thing, but that's just my feeling.
Okay. All right, so are we in agreement that we will have the depot, the post office, the library, and front porch forum? And all it needs to be is on that little calendar spot that it's just noted there. Does that make sense, Lori?
Yes, that's what I have written down. That makes sense.
So if we all agree with that, I would make a motion that we adopt these rules and procedures.
Can we clean up the language and purpose? It's not clear what the first sentence means.
Okay, you tell me what you would prefer to see.
Well, it says the Board of Trustees of the village required by law to conduct its meeting in accordance with the, and then there's nothing, there's.
Oh, with the Vermont.
Because Vermont, there's Vermont something, so there's something.
Yes,
supposed to
I'm
be after
missing a
Vermont.
VSA. Thank
Yeah.
you for catching that.
Well, is it this one VSA?
I will look.
13?
I will look and find out for certain.
Okay.
Thank you for catching that. In all the times I've looked at this.
Well, it's just, well. yeah,
Easy to
maybe-
do.
No.
I
I
look
can
at
see
the
how that
grammar
would
a
happen,
lot.
but it-
Yes,
it
thank you
is-
so much for
yeah.
catching that. Did you see any other things that, with your eagle eyes there, that maybe have spotted something amiss?
No, not really.
Okay,
I'm okay
all right,
with most of it, except in number 7.
number 7, okay.
Okay, in F7, it says, members of the body, members of the public shall obey the orders of the chair or the presiding member. The chair should adhere to the following process to restore order and decorum, but may bypass, or the A, B, C, D, that's the process?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Thank you.
Did that make sense to you?
Well,
It's
that's-
probably
that was
more
the
than we
only
need.
logical thing to
Yes,
interpret it
yes.
as, but,
Yes. From the process is warranted,
It's-
colon.
yeah, somehow it struck me as incomplete in pointing to that. I don't know why. It's because it sounds like it wants a period after warranted, and then there's this adjunct here.
Oh,
The
because
following
my-
process.
it's bypassing the steps, so it's listing the steps.
The process enumerated below in as A, B, C, D, maybe perhaps would be clear.
Ah.
It just struck me as not.
Okay,
and
Well,
I
how
figured
about we
that's
do
what was
this?
intended,
Okay.
but in fact, you could also think
Yes.
process refers to this whole document.
okay. So that we can get this done, I would make a motion that we accept this with these changes noted in A 5, D2, and E2. And that we will revisit this next year if we find, as we work through this, that there is language that could make it clearer.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, then I am handing this page around for everyone's signatures that are here, and I will clean up the rest of it and get it to Lori for filing and everybody else. And we are a little bit over, well, 7:10, so we're not too far beyond. Okay. Looking now to review and approve the minutes of June 7th.
I'll make a motion. You got to read.
No? Ray has made a motion,
I can second.
seconded here. All in any discussion? Hearing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next item is the payment and the payment of bills. So let's keep these in this order. The payroll warrant first, please.
Okay.
Doug, do you want to read the totals of
Yep.
this warrant, please?
So the payroll warrant, just to remind everybody once again that we're approving from the month prior since we switched to direct deposit. So the payroll warrant for the July meeting, which covers the month of June payroll,
is in the amount of $14,084.64.
And this also now includes the tax withholdings that used to be on the expense.
Okay, so that means we pay it in arrears. It's already paid, but we're approving it in arrears.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Both of them.
We have a motion by Tara, a second by Ray, do I hear? Yes? All in favor?
Aye.
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 The next one would be the late warrant.
Okay, so the late warrant, again, as we've discussed, this is probably going to be happening monthly. So we are probably going to have 2 warrants going forward as Lori gets bills that come in that she feels won't be within the 30-day time frame to get things paid. We're going to get those ones paid. And this one is a bit larger than normal also because we had a year end of June 30th. So anything that had arrived prior to, we paid everything out that we had received prior to June 30th. So the late June warrant, which covers June 8th through June 30th, is in the amount of $34,645.40. I'll hit a couple of the larger items on there, and then if anybody has any questions, the concrete impressions for a little over 10,000 and the S&S fence for a little over 4,200. Those are for sidewalk work and work at the Lions Park for the work that Norm did to replace the fencing and things over there. Greater Heights is tree at a little over 3,000 and North Bennington graded school at a little over 6,000. That is fully funded from ARPA. That was the approval to repay for the work done for the mail of the voting and ballots and stamps and labor and all of those items. So those are the largest items on there. If anybody has any other specific questions, let me know. Otherwise, again, the amount was $34,645.40 for late June.
Questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
The VLCT, Vermont League of Cities and Towns, is that a membership fee or is that what?
That one, I believe, is the part of insurance. I can double check
Okay.
on the invoice, but I believe that's insurance.
For like errors and omissions type of insurance or?
All of our insurances.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It's all through the,
I didn't hear that.
What was that, Matt?
oh, it's all through them, the insurance that we did.
Yes.
Okay.
So it covers, and it also covers the water department, but the water department then reimburses for whatever is there. So it's the infrastructure, it's the fire department, it's the workers' comp for fire people, it's everything.
And that's monthly?
No, occasionally we get bills as things go, like as vehicles are added or deleted, there'll be adjustments. There are some quarterly bills that come in for assessments or whatever you call it.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's roughly, so you know, roughly about $30,000 in a year.
Okay. All right.
Any other questions?
I'd make a motion to accept this warrant.
Lori, that was motioned by Scott,
I'll second.
second from Matthew. All in favor? Aye. And then the final one
I
is,
didn't vote, I'm sorry.
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I thought you were waving over there.
No.
Okay, then the final one
I
is
missed the call.
the one that we are, for checks that are being written today. Now, I will say, even though these checks are dated today, some of these are actually the last fiscal year expenses. We go by the date of the invoice when we calculate our expenses for a fiscal year, not the date of a check.
Okay.
And I'll hit the, there's only 2 on here that are really on the larger side. The McCullough Library, a little over 63,000. That again is an ARPA that was approved. So that is fully funded from ARPA funds. It just has to come out of this checking account. The funds get transferred directly from ARPA. And the concrete impressions, that is the remaining or the next portion of the sidewalk project. So you can see if those two items weren't on there, the July warrant would be, much smaller with the amount that we paid in late June. So the 63, again, fully funded from ARPA.
I would also note two other quick things, although they're much smaller. There's a Raymond Petrozzi, which I didn't know who the heck he is, but I looked, and the detail on our warrant detail says something about a hydraulic printer. It's actually a crimper, and it crimps fittings to hydraulic hoses.
Yep.
And apparently something that the highway department uses with great regularity. So they're very happy to have this used one. The other one is, you'll see a Lucinda Roit, a small amount there. She is the young lady that is doing our website for us, and we'll have a brief website update later on.
Great.
Any other questions?
The concrete impressions.
Mhm.
So did we get a bill last month and we paid 10 and now we're paying an
50.
additional
Yeah, it was a
10?
50-50.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. All right.
Any other questions?
I'll make a motion to approve this warrant in the total of,
I'm sorry, it was 89,742.86.
thank you.
Second.
Any questions?
No.
No. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
We got Ray this time.
And that's all I have for now.
Okay. Norm is not here, but he gave me some notes, and then he and I chatted about them. And so I will read them off. He says, and we will not take the full time required for this, so we'll get ourselves back on track here in no time. He says June is usually a very slow month. This year was the exception, with the completion of all roadside mowing and the Bank Street sidewalk from School Street to Church Street. So some bullet points within the sidewalk. Project took about 3.5 weeks from the excavating, which was all done by them in-house, and the help of a rented excavator. It took 2 days to pour concrete. Thank you. And he is extremely happy that there are no handprints, footprints, or bike marks on the concrete. He said that
That's great.
bike marks,
People like to put little things in the.
Oh,
Tire
Yeah,
tracks from.
tire tracks,
Take-
bike, not,
Oh,
but
I
not
see.
bike,
Right.
not like as in chewing, bite.
Tire.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
That's more traction, come on.
He said the three of them, the crew of three, worked every day on this for every day, pretty much not all day, but every day they were there. And then Art Devlin, Big A, came in to screen some topsoil to complete the job. And as of yesterday, the grass was growing in, and he said the highway department is very pleased with the work, as I believe are most of us who have seen it. So congratulations, kudos to the three in the highway department. They've done a spectacular job on that.
I think
Nice.
it's really important to really emphasize this. That job is a long stretch, a full block, if not more, and it's perfect with all the finishing on the side and all that. I really am very impressed, and I'd hope Norm was here to hear that, but
Well, we'll
He
make
did.
sure to note that for him next
Yeah.
time.
And I'll note too, living over on that end, a lot of people, that's the first that they see coming into the village, so that's, for it to look that good is a nice impression.
agreed.
You might recall that we had in a previous meeting discussed that the owners of the school, the Southshire School, had some discussion with Norm about helping them with some ditching and
Drainage. Yep.
so Norm is working now with them will be over the course of the rest of the summer to get that work done for them, to help them with that.
Great.
As of their mowing and maintenance, he says that the dry weather was a help and that they didn't have to mow weekly, but they did that, and they did quite a bit of the roadside mowing and the trimming with the big gizmos that go and cut down branches in the road.
Yep.
He said the chain link part of Lions Park is complete and it looks great, and he's waiting on the guardrail company to complete that. There's a significant update on the depot. There was work to be done on the lower roof out on the sidewalk side of the depot. It's been twice postponed. It was started, it's a tar roof. He says it's a tar coating and really in dire need of repair. Originally, it was going to be done last fall. That was then postponed and rescheduled for the spring. And then due to the passing of a foreman this spring, that was delayed again. He has had recent conversation with Doxy Roofing, and they said that that will be finished this summer. Now, the issue is that the first step of that is power washing, so it's going to create a lot of dirt and debris. And when this was all started, there was no art out there. Well, we don't want to damage all of that. So he's talked to Joe Churchirillo and explained that temporarily some of that's going to have to be moved. But he will have a week's notice from Doxy before they start. Norm offered to help move the art, but he certainly doesn't want to touch it on his own.
Yep.
And then he said, after a quick breather, they've started to do painting all around the village again, crosswalks, etc. He noticed that when working up on Bank Street, he seemed to think that the flashing traffic sign did a good job. He says it made a difference, and other people have told him so. It's been over on Houghton Street, and it is then now going to be moved down to Water Street over by the hangar company. So people will see it coming into town, and then we'll move it around from there. There is a traffic study that will be done for the village. It will cost a couple $1,000s to do. And I'll bring all of this back to the board once there's some details. But Norm, myself, a couple of people in the village, and Jim Sullivan met with two gentlemen from V-Trans about a month ago on some concerns about the intersection down at Pangea. The first thing that's needed to do any revision in your roadways is the traffic study. There are two municipalities in line ahead of us. BCRC does these traffic studies, and we are next in line when they complete them. So once that's done, we'll have some proposals for that. Once that traffic study is done, then you can apply for grants to help, where then we'll have a project proposal done with some recommendations, and then that can go out for grant and see some various things around there. With regards to grants, the Overley Culvert project, there may be some delay on that due to the scope of the project. It was just going to move the whole the existing culvert over and drop a new one in there. That apparently can't be done. That's not feasible. So design and material procurement is ongoing. We also did just get a $8,700 Better Roads grant. There's a 20% match for this. It's for culvert work on College Road. And this is going to be a culvert put in across the road there over by where the Kohler property had a road cut done a year ago or whenever. And Norm's plan is to complete that by fall. We also have been tentatively awarded $11,500 for the V-Trans Municipal Grant and Aid for 2023. That was really quick. I just signed that less than a month ago. And this will apply towards other culvert work that's needed on hydrologically connected road segments that were identified on the 2021 road survey that was also done via a grant. And then in August and September, several grants open up, which we, with CRC assistance, will pursue a municipal planning grant. That's going to take all of us to weigh in and help on that one. We'll pursue some drainage issues on Lower Mechanic Street, all around the corner down in towards the river, and some municipal building heating options that will be new funding available to municipalities for various things in that regard. That was Norm's report.
Fantastic. Lots going on.
There is. Indeed, there is. They're busy guys over there.
And a busy new chair.
If I can last 2 years.
Oh, come on.
Lori will slash my tires.
Yes,
All right.
that's true.
Right. Well, we are now, because Norm wasn't here to ask other questions of, we are now going to commence with the fire department, and Chief Harrington is here. We will still keep to our time constraints that we put on here. So we have 40 minutes or so for the fire chief. And you're on.
All right, so we'll begin this stuff out to you. The warranties for the truck are on the back. You pull the page up, this one, he,
Gotcha.
sent it up to me, I can print it out, so I just wrote it in the paper.
Now, were these the ones that you gave to us before? or
Yeah,
is
so
this
this
different?
has the warranties on it. Yours doesn't. Thank you.
I can look at his.
I would get you a copy.
No,
This
I
is
can
the
look
Bulldog
this.
one.
So
You
there are
gave me a
like
little
three
box.
proposals.
Oh, I did?
There were, yes. There were 3 that had been emailed
I have
to us
Bulldog and
before.
E1.
And the third one, was too high.
Too high.
So those two are.
Schaefer one.
Okay,
So you should have E1 and Bulldog fire apparatus. So this is a picture of the truck that we're looking at today. So that's what it will look like.
which one is this, Ed?
It's going to be the same. It's the same truck.
The same from either purveyor?
Right.
Okay,
Exactly, in every detail, really. Okay.
Looks like the warranty might be a hair different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So under the E1, 1 year what count? I can't make out the last of it. Clients or
Comprehensive or companion?
comprehensive? What's that say?
I think it's complete.
Complete?
The 1 year
Okay.
complete. That means the whole truck would be covered under warranty.
Okay,
And then it breaks down to 10 years, and then the tank itself is like that.
10-year paint, okay.
Yeah. If it cracks, they replace it at no cost.
So one has a 10-year for paint and one has a 5-year for paint.
Correct.
10-year plumbing.
Both have 10-year plumbing.
Oh, yeah, okay, so this is 10-year paint and that's 5-year.
have you compared the two?
I compared it.
And where did you see differences in the warranties?
In the warranty, they're, the only difference is the paint warranty. 10
Okay,
years, I believe it's Bulldog that has a 10 or E1.
E1 has a 10.
Okay, so E1 has, the Bulldog has a 5, so, I mean, that would be a plus. If you have a big problem, if you have 10 years, that's a plus.
But the other one has a electrical is specified electrical warranty,
Yeah,
and that's not on this E1.
correct.
And 5-year pump warranty. There's no pump warranty on the E1?
No.
Okay, so there's more than just that one item that was different.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
think we,
Now, did you say that the one that you hand wrote, you have that via email?
I had that on my cell phone.
Okay, now, both of these are just the cover sheet, correct?
That's just the cover sheet. That's what you guys would get.
Right, but you have the full proposal.
For both, it's 70 pages.
That's
Yes.
fine.
Right.
Yep.
Okay?
Right.
And
what?
like this, the price and stuff, like stuff on here, you know, I mean, you can look at it if you want, but it's really, I mean, I don't know if it's gonna make any sense to you, because
So I've financed these before. I work in banking. I've done commercial lending and I've financed ambulances. I've financed fire trucks. So I do understand, you know, where things come from. So that's why I've been asking to try to get the copies to look through and just to kind of compare. Like you say, I mean, there are some differences right there on the warranties. So, you know, if there's add-ons, because you have your base chassis price, which is going to be X.
Yeah.
And then as you build it up, those are your add-ons. Now, your costs are pretty similar. So, I mean, I'm guessing there's not going to be too much, but if one's giving you one thing and the other's giving you different, it could match up differently in a different area.
So you've got a way of factoring for what that value is?
Well, some of it depends on the use of it, which you would
Yeah.
defer to the fire department of
Right.
where the usage and, you know, if they're picking a particular,
One.
I call them add-ons, you know,
But
from
they're
when you
exactly
start
the
with the
same
base.
truck.
Right, the chassis is the same.
Added stuff to the truck.
The what?
That we need to, for this village.
Okay.
Right.
But we
Yeah.
have added stuff that has, you know, that's, you know, we have a full page list that we added.
And
And
that's
that's
all reflected
included
in
in
this
both?
price?
That's everything, that's the full price of the truck.
So there's very little difference in the two of them
Yeah.
except the warranty.
Except maybe in these
Well-
warranties.
Well, here's the thing though, when you had mentioned that there was a significant number of detail, I agree that that's too much for every trustee unless they wish to do it, to look at it. That's why I had suggested that we would discuss this now, have people work with Doug, because he does have some expertise in this matter, to look at that. I'm not inclined to spend $410,000 on something knowing that there's pages of detail that no one's looked at, other
Right.
than, I mean, I'm sure you have.
We're not the US Congress. We have to be.
Yeah.
We have to be looking out for our village.
Yeah.
People.
So, certainly,
But just keep in mind that those, if you look at those sheets, they have dates on them, and the price can change.
and
Yes.
I have every doubt, I have no doubt that you are good negotiators within your department, and you can buy another week or so if need be. I don't expect this decision to go for months,
No,
so.
So
Chassis price is gonna change, that's.
chassis price.
Understood, but I mean, to Mary's point,
So
if
when
we-
I come back next time, it may be, you know, 415,000.
but if, I'm gonna give you a hypothetical, okay? Hypothetically, let's say next month, the trustees approve 410, 428 for E1, just for the sake of argument.
Yeah.
You call them up and they say, well, we went up, we're now 420. You call Bulldog and tell them that, I have a pretty good feeling you can probably get the price if you tell them it's already been approved by your board. Do you understand? I mean, it's worth the call. I don't make the final decision. The trustees make the vote.
Right.
So
And,
Before I came here,
so,
Bulldog was 400. And E1 was 410, so both, they said, okay, we'll drop ours down to 410.
Yeah.
So there, you know, can I get them to do it again? I don't know.
But
Okay, now-
you're not asking them to rebid. You're telling them you have been approved and you want them to hold that price. You're not asking them to rebid. There's a big difference between asking them to rebid it and calling them up and saying, hey, Okay, you had said this is good through 7/15. It was approved on 7/22. I'm going to make up a date just for the sake of argument. You're going to tell me you really think that they're not going to take that?
If the chassis price goes up, we
Okay.
have to.
Okay,
I don't want to
so-
waste your time going back and forth on this
So
because I have a
here's the
few
thing.
other questions, but
Yes,
I don't want to waste
here's the
time on
thing.
that.
We will, do you have, and does your fire department have a preference for one of these vendors versus the other?
They do, but I don't.
Well, that's what you're here
We
to
took a
sell
vote-
us
We
on.
took a vote last night and Bulldog was the one that they chose.
Okay. And
You don't
what
seem to
was-
support that though.
Yes.
You do or you don't?
I support either one because they're the same job.
Okay,
Either one I
so
support.
please tell us for our edification, what was it about Bulldog that for the folks who are using it was their preference? Help us with that.
The E1 truck is not going to be delivered until 2025.
But aren't they both E1 trucks?
No. No.
I thought you said they're the same truck.
They are the same truck. They're being built the same way. But E1 is one company, Bulldog.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I get it.
So it's two separate.
Okay.
So what's Bulldog's delivery?
They're talking 11 months.
Okay. Okay, so it's a,
Where are they located? I'm sorry.
no, please.
Colony, New York.
Okay, so Bulldog,
E1 has got to stay on,
pardon me,
St. Albans.
St. Albans?
and Bulldog is in New York State.
Colony, over next to Albany.
Okay, and then there's something about Ocala, Florida.
That's where the truck will be made.
Oh, okay. But the company is located in
St. Albans,
St. Albans.
E1, we have bought 5 trucks from them.
Well, there's,
And what
if
is,
I could voice an opinion,
Yes.
there's something to be said for using a Vermont company
Right.
plus one that we have a long history with.
Right, I would say,
I'm not saying that.
I agree with that. If
definitive.
you bought 5 trucks from them, have you had good experience with the 5 you've bought?
Up until this one that we just, because, it cost us like $5 grand to fix it, the new 5.6.
Okay, but you were-
That's the only problem.
Okay, but
But was
that,
that something that because of them?
It's the thing that makes the pump work.
Mhm.
Keeps it in, so you can put in pump gear and pump the water out of the truck and all that. That little modular was $4,000.
right.
And should it have lasted longer?
It only had 5 years.
is that the current pumper that you're
That-
talking about?
That is the water supply truck, which is the one that goes to the hydrant to pump the water.
Okay. And this is not that pump truck, it's a different truck.
But it's the one we're getting rid of is 5.5, which is the enclosed pump top panel.
See,
It's not the little truck,
it's a big truck.
it's the big one, the big long one. the 5.5.
So how many vehicles do you have over there?
We have 2.
Okay, so I wasn't aware that we bought 5 trucks here and,
No,
Recently.
no. Chief Myers, since he's been chief,
uh-huh.
has replaced 5 trucks.
Oh.
So in
see, I'm
30 years.
Not aware of that.
Yeah.
Okay,
He was chief for 30 years.
right.
He bought the Freightliner, he bought the new 10 years.
Did we
ago.
buy trucks used before?
No, they've always been.
But here's the thing, I think you said the first meeting I was at, that there's you try to turn the truck over 20 years
Correct.
because there's resale value. So somebody's buying it used, is that right?
A company buys the truck, right, to check out to the village. They take the truck and they sell it to somebody else. That's why they buy used fire trucks, like towns like White Creek, they're small.
They're too
They can
small.
afford to buy new
Yep.
ones.
Right.
They buy used ones, they use them for 5-10 years, and then they go, they get the money worth out, and then they go and buy another one.
So what is it? That was another series of questions I had. So the truck that you're replacing, what's the current age of it? How long has it been in the village possession?
23 years.
23, okay.
It's 3
And-
years old, we're being replaced.
Now, you said it's going to be sold basically wholesale.
There's two companies that are interested in it right now. One is 80,000, one is 100,000.
Okay.
But they haven't committed to any of this, so.
I understand that, and that's perfectly fine.
And you can't, you have to wait till you get a truck before you can sell this, so. Or can you make a
Well,
deal
what
out in
What
advance?
we would do is if they wanted to buy the truck, they wanted the truck, we'll say 2 months from now. And we were gonna get Bulldog's truck, and we would do mutual aid until our truck showed up. So Shasta and Bennington would come automatically to North Bennington.
Okay, so we'd be operating without a vehicle for a little while.
Correct. If they could wait, then they can wait, but.
But if they have a buyer and they're paying a premium price, then
So I mean, if we go with E1 the 2 years out, you're gonna lose 40 grand on the sale of the truck. So you have to, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Because
We
it'll
can't
be
go
done.
2 years on that mutual aid.
Do you know what the reason for the delay, like what the discrepancy in the time for truck availability is?
E1's 15 trucks behind,
Okay,
and Bulldog, they have the chassis. So that's why they can offer us a year for the truck to be here.
is Bulldog a bigger company?
It's, Bulldog is selling it, but the company that's building it is Fork Brothers. And
that's,
they do about the same as E1.
Okay, so they're just, for whatever reason, they're more on schedule.
But if you guys make a decision to go with E1, that's the one that the department will go with. You know, it's gonna.
So are the two trucks being built, would be built by the same company, no matter what? No.
They're
Different
different
companies.
companies.
But you're saying that Bulldog, the truck would be built in Florida by,
No, E1 will be built before.
okay, Bulldog would be built in Colony by,
No, Bulldog will be built in, it's New York, but it's gonna be built in, no, they don't have it here, but.
Yeah.
I know it's in New York.
It's much like a car dealership. You know, there's the manufacturers of them, and then, you know, you're
and
So,
so
Sales.
these companies are basically sort of like your dealer.
exactly.
And do they do the service, does Bulldog do the service on this vehicle?
If it's warranty, it goes to Colony, they have a shop right now, Latham, COD,
Right. And the current truck, who services that truck? Or I assume it's needed some service over its life.
Yeah, it's E1's,
They've been servicing.
yeah, his name is Jay, I don't know.
he comes here.
No, he's from St. John's, Vermont.
So the
We-
truck stays here and they come and fix it
Yes.
here?
Yeah, so that's why you have to pay him for travel time.
Right. And if Bulldog is doing it and we have that truck and needs maintenance, will it go to,
Yes,
Them?
you drive it to them.
they'll tow it or whatever?
I mean, if it breaks down, if it's under warranty, they have to pay for the tow, they have to.
Right.
Now, go ahead, Ray.
No, I have a lot of questions that I don't have answers. It's not that they're just, I don't understand the
Yeah.
process at all.
Yeah.
And I don't really if the truck has value still, I know that eventually you think it's going to need serious repairs. Most of what it's had repairs to in its life have been minor sorts of things, right? Because you want it to work all the time. And so as it gets older, entropy takes hold, things break down, and you may not have it when you need it. Right. So I understand that's an equation. Are there rules of thumb or is there, I kept wondering, is there like standards that the state imposes on these sorts of purchases and the quality level that they have to be at? Are they all up to individual fire departments?
No, it's up, because the town purchased it.
Yep.
If you guys purchase it, the
Right.
state doesn't mandatory.
They don't manage it at all in that respect. So,
It's
right,
funny, but
do we get any,
so they don't-
yeah, do we get any state money for helping to help purchase it?
Nope.
Not at all. It's all
No,
on us.
there may be grants available.
Yeah,
But when we have this time, I mean, that would have taken a year to look into,
to process.
because those grants are not after a purchase, they're prior to a purchase, you need them.
Yeah, okay. So,
So if we were to start now by looking for a grant, if there was even one available,
right.
that
so
would
you
be
were
one
delaying
thing.
the whole thing by.
At least a year.
So, okay, so, I guess my situation is I just don't understand the necessity of 20 years. Of course, it's 23 years, and so I see the necessity of building up there, right?
What happens is the pumps and the inside, you
Yeah.
have a pump in there,
Right,
and that thing starts wearing down.
yeah,
You know, it has a certain life, you know, that's why they only warranty it for 20
yeah,
years.
of course. But they only warranty it a certain way because it's warranty against defect as opposed to wear and tear.
Well, I mean, we've had a truck that, you know, had a crack in the tank, and they took the tank, and they put a new one in, it didn't cost us anything.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
on this truck that we have now, that happened?
no, that was on the Ferrari one.
Oh, okay.
That we bought.
Right, so, yeah, and the pump the seals are what are critical, I suppose, because otherwise it starts not pumping efficiently.
Well, those are serviced every year.
Yeah,
And so when people come in and look at the truck, you know, when people looked at the truck, they were well impressed how well it was taken care of, and all that stuff. So,
yeah, right.
So I have a
They
question.
get the maintenance records from you
Yes.
guys, yeah. They see what's been done to it, how well it's, you guys take loving care of it, is my belief. But, okay,
So I have a question, not to throw a wrench into things, because I know there are some time constraints, but had you looked at, because this is 23 years old, had you looked at looking for a 10-year-old truck? Another used truck from somebody else?
Oh,
I'm gonna say no, that we don't go that route,
Why not?
because.
So I
it's
guess,
somebody else's problems,
well, yes, but
and you don't get no warranty with it.
no, I agree with that, but I'm just asking in the fullness of investigating, has there never been thought or looking at this or looking at other fire departments that are small like this, that are not using trucks every day of the week, to see whether they could get a 10-year-old truck or a 5-year-old truck or something for a significant discount to $410, $10,000 that would last them, and then they just replace them. I'm just wondering why, you know, has that ever been worked into an equation?
probably not.
There's- We, see, honestly, I can't, I'm not in favor of something like that, so
Well-
I think if the fire truck is a piece of apparatus that saves lives,
Yes.
and I'm not willing, as chief, to bring in a used vehicle that I know nothing about.
Well, I'm not saying you get one off the corner, but
No, I
what
want you to
about,
go to any salesman and say.
but
"I'm gonna buy
what
a
about
truck."
another, I mean, is there some association of fire departments that maybe, I'm asking, I'm not mandating, I'm just
Right, right.
asking.
Like I
To
said,
me, look,
I'm not-
I'd love to drive a new car, but, or, you know, I would love to, a lot of people would love to have a lot of new stuff, but sometimes you can do with something that's not the Cadillac, if you can. And I understand that you personally might not be in favor of it. If I was a fire person, I'd probably want something brand new and shiny myself. But I guess it just strikes me as curious that in the whole scheme of looking at budgets and planning, that it never,
'Cause
there
this
was
is
no
the way- this is
research
the way
done.
they used to- This is the way we used to do it. The fire chief would go out and get these papers right here.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
Matthew used to be on the board, he used to be the chairman. When they bought 5-6, he brought the paperwork up, they looked at it, they made a motion to buy the truck, and we went and bought the truck.
Okay.
So this is all, you know, like I said, I've only been chief for 5 months, and I don't know.
But in your opinion, in your experience, there was no other way to do things. There was no other investigation ever done.
I wasn't chief.
No, I'm just saying, but you said you've been around for 30 years, so you
Right,
must
and-
know
and
what
I've
happened.
been here when they've taken a vote, and they bought the truck. and we went
Okay,
and got the-
but that's all I'm asking. So for 30 years or more, this is just the way it is. Nobody ever looked at other options.
We've never.
I'm done. That was all, the only question I had. Thank you. I'm not,
I have another quick
Yes.
question. Which one was available the soonest?
The vote.
the Bulldog.
Oh, the Bulldog, okay, and that's 11 months? Is that-
That's 11 months, that'd be 2023, right?
And does let's assume we get the 100,000 for the old one, does that come off the price?
No.
You get a check from the dealer.
No, but I mean, in other words, we will have 100,000, so we only need 310.
But we have to finance this one
You
for
know,
the
you
check.
got money in your firehouse or the fire truck seating when you have money in there.
Yeah,
By the time this truck gets done, you're gonna have to borrow about 110,000 to pay for it. From what you have it in there. That I came up with figures.
Okay, so there is a fund that exists for replacement of vehicles.
and
Yes,
then-
and it's in the email that I sent to you guys.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
And then, so we have to borrow 110,000.
That'll be up to him, whatever
Yeah.
he comes up with for a number, I'm just.
And then we sell the old one, can we use that to pay back?
We can pay, you can use that
That
to pay
check comes to you
down.
guys.
And then, so we could pay
Okay.
that down.
So the
Okay.
other issue is that once a decision is made, we need to know, at least I would like to know, how this is going to be financed before
Yeah.
the decision is made.
Yeah.
And this is where I think a committee of you folks have to meet with the chief and the other fire department men and women who have a vested interest in this, and come up with what is the final recommendation, why, and how is that balance going to be paid for? Maybe there's maybe there's money from the municipal bond bank. I don't know. Maybe there's other financing available.
So I do have a little bit of
Good.
information for you. So to circle back real quick. So what your recommendation to the board would be is to use the full balance of the fire truck fund, which is a little over 137,000 right now, plus next year's 20,000, assuming it stays level funded, just for the sake of argument.
Mhm.
So that's 157, 100,000 from the sale,
Yeah.
which is 257.
Right,
So you're recommending financing of 143.
yes.
Okay, when is the next truck?
10 years from now.
10 years from now. Okay.
Okay.
So right now,
You can only do this trick of taking next year's fund for the truck fund once, because you gotta be paying.
only because he's saying it's an 11-month build time. That's the only reason
Yes.
I'm throwing that
Yes.
money in there.
And that was my question, when
Yep.
the next one
Gotcha.
needs to come up.
Right,
So-
so then the sinking fund starts growing again. And then
Mhm.
now that we know that it's 10 years out, potentially we could get,
Well, it is likely that equipment of this sort will always be funded by borrowing.
but also knowing that it's 10 years out, we can start looking for
That's
grant
right.
funding.
You can look for grant funding and you can look at other options where,
Now, we have a schedule of these trucks because there is is there a fire department audit? Or is that just the water department?
there is a schedule that I put together a few years ago,
Uh-huh.
a proposed capital expenditure
Uh-huh.
plan.
And
But-
when Tara and I met with Ed, we
You
asked
got-
for, yep,
You're gonna work on
absolutely.
it.
I'm sure that you are.
Yes. you're gonna work
Just
on
to
the
circle
rest.
back before
Yes.
before we get too far ahead, I did contact Community Bank, who is the bank of the village. They do finance these vehicles.
Mhm.
The proposals that they offered for a 5-year term, 2.79 annual payments. So you would pay 1/5 of the principal and you would pay the interest that's accrued.
Mhm.
10 years, 3.19, same deal, one annual payment. So you would take the principal divided by 10. Now I told her 400 because I didn't know where we were going to go with things. I don't think the rates will change borrowing less. It usually doesn't. So that's the proposal that they gave us. And being a banker, I always prefer that people go to their bank. So we bank with Community Bank. So I threw it out to them and I knew they'd be able to turn it around quickly. So for the minutes, those are the current, those rates are valid until, should put in here, August 26th.
So we have now exceeded our time allotted for this discussion, which is fine. Why don't we have whoever will volunteer to meet with Doug and Ed to fine tune this, put some numbers together, come up with the proposal for funding, because we will need to know not only what our payments plus interest are, but then we're going to have to know what we're going to have to start reserving again, because you could quite easily get to a $50,000 or $60,000 a year nut that we have to start budgeting for. And that is huge to add to this village.
Yeah.
But it may be necessary.
What's the current fire department budget?
Overall, I don't have that off the top of my
Do
head.
you happen to
But
know, Doug?
But
Not off the top of my
it's-
head. I don't have it here.
for
No.
today's
Ed may know.
discussion,
Ed may know.
for today's discussion, it's not material. Yeah, well, it never is. For today's discussion, it's not really material. So who will meet with
Well, we're meeting tomorrow for the.
on a
energy
different,
thing.
yeah, we'll get to that in just a minute, but
Right.
this is
So maybe we could
Nope.
arrange time to,
separate
Go over
discussion.
there.
Nope, separate
No.
discussion.
no, in other words, arrange a time to work on this.
I think
While
Scott
we're
is stepping
meeting.
up and saying.
Oh, are you gonna volunteer
I
to work
would,
with them?
I would do that.
Okay. Who else is interested in working with Doug?
I'm gonna defer just because of my
Okay.
busyness at the moment.
Okay. And I'm nosy enough that I will defer as well. Nobody needs to know
So
what I think,
Sorry,
Oh,
you're
oh.
deferring for what reason?
because nobody needs to know what I
Oh,
think.
okay,
I put my nose into enough.
okay.
I'm just, personally, I'm, don't know what my next 5 weeks are gonna look like with another
Okay.
surgery and stuff. So I would let y'all down like I have many times before, so I don't know, except that I don't know that the discussion should be how are we gonna get together and make this happen? I kind of feel like the board needs to say, or at least contemplate the idea of no. This is not where we're going right now. I'm not in favor of any of these proposals. So Maybe
Well, here's my thought, and I hear what you're saying, but I'm not willing to say yes or no until I see the whole picture of what it does for the next 10 years or 5 years.
Yep.
And I'm frankly disappointed that no one in 30 years ever thought maybe there's another small fire department that has decent equipment and maybe is better situated than we do, or has an organization that gets together and does this. Water departments do it, highway departments do it, maintenance departments do it all the time. So
Do you know?
it's too late maybe now, but maybe for the future it would be something to do.
Just a quick question for discussion purpose to kind of piggyback off Mary. Do you know if Bennington Rural or Shaftesbury buy used or they always buy new? Both of them always buy new? Well, Bennington Village, I understand. That's why I'm asking about
Yeah.
smaller Shaftesbury, Bennington Rural.
And there are, yeah. But again, I don't know. It just seems to me that other municipalities that are a little more well off probably have equipment that's on a 5-10-year schedule. And
Mary,
you know,
you've made the point for many years now that the fire department needs to bring to us a schedule and meet so that we can put forth these kinds of long-term schedules that have less impact on the tax base.
Yeah.
And I feel like they've not played that game well, and so it's always here. Oh, you know, it was the last time it was the cold water rescues thing, and I met with Ed and Ed, and we agreed that we would have to dip into the fire truck fund to help them get that process to get that happen. And I just, the reason the fire departments across the state are able to do this is because they're not held to the scrutiny that other departments of municipalities are. And of course, I'll say that I understand that these guys do great things for our community, but not to the tune of $450,000 times 3 every 10 years. You know, it's this. My thought is this truck will get them through another year or two. And they then can actually do what we've asked them to do for a long time and help us understand, or help them understand, there has to be a process of amortizing, budgeting, and all that. It just seems like it's always, oh, guess what, guys? We need a new truck, $450,000.
well, as a trustee, you have the right to request such a thing. Are you opposed to the research being done just to cost this out and see what it would be so that we have that to make a decision? And I'm hoping that even if Lori can advise whether we call a special meeting or we continue this one for perhaps 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now, so that it doesn't have to wait the entire month. We can short stop this.
I'm in total agreement that we should hear out the full thing, and
Okay.
please prove me wrong. Show me how we can afford this as a community, and I will vote for it in a minute. But right now, it's just, the information is not there. So thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you. Tara has a question.
Just a real quick question, kind of to piggyback off of what Mary was saying. Is there any wisdom to pursuing the used vehicle for the months to cover the spread of this one getting older, and you guys then looking into grants, municipal grants that may be able to help us fund this? So we have the 5-year truck that is gonna, eventually be old enough that we don't want to keep it around. But in the meantime, we sell that one, we get the 5-year one, we go through the process of finding municipal grants, and then we pursue. I know it's a lot more steps, but is there any wisdom to that?
You want to do that for the next one? But people have put a lot of time into doing all this paperwork, putting this stuff up, and for me to call them and say, now they want to buy a used truck.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of part of a process. That argument doesn't go that far, to be honest. We all do a lot of work that sometimes doesn't come to fruition. So that's part of the process.
Correct.
But,
Excuse me.
and you're gonna tell, let's say this gets approved. You're gonna tell 2 out of these 3 that they did this work for nothing.
Anyway,
They do this work to eat, to try to win the bid.
Right.
put it on
Yeah.
fire.
yeah, well,
But,
And, you know, we've always come here for 188 years.
okay. Excuse me.
Okay.
I have to stop this discussion because I will not have this meeting go off the rails. I understand we will have at least Scott meet with Doug. They'll contact you. We'll look at the rest of this. And frankly, I don't mean to be unkind, but I am not interested in what happened 100 years ago or 30 years ago. Okay, you still have the floor. Oh, excuse me. Maybe I will make a motion then that we have Scott and Doug work with Ed and the fire department to continue pursuing and hashing out how this might look, see if that can be done. And Lori, would we need to continue this? We do have to continue this to a date certain, correct? If we-
Correct. If you,
we-
our next regular meeting is August 9th. I don't know how much time you think you might need, Doug, to look at the remaining paperwork with Scott and Ed. Is 2 weeks appropriate? Or is August 9th the next best option?
Stand by.
I'm just looking at my calendar to see what 2 weeks
That'd be
gets us
August
to.
26th, right?
Or
For
July.
continuation.
July
26th,
26th.
sorry, for continuation.
We can shoot for 2 weeks and I can give an update next week. Is that acceptable, Lori?
Yeah, that's fine. We can continue the meeting for the discussion of said fire truck information to the 26th of July. And prior to that, just 3 or 4 days prior, you can send out information via email.
Okay.
Finding is fine.
Hold on, I just want to make sure I'm here on July 26th. I am in the evening. Yes,
So you're going to participate in this, or
Uh,
not the process?
not in the process. If one other trustee would like to do that, it would be nice, but it's at least we would have
No,
two.
I'd be willing to
Okay,
do
good.
that.
All right, then let's just do that. So that will be the motion that
Yeah.
Scott and Doug will work with Ed and the fire department to come up with more information on this, perhaps even a more robust proposal, and we will continue this discussion on the 26th.
Right, so Ray, we would be here on the 26th unless you had something
Yes.
else to do.
Is it the 26th or the 27th?
26th.
26.
Tuesday again.
14 plus 12, 26.
You're
Yes,
on
I
the
will be
board.
here, I believe.
Okay,
Yeah, so we don't have to be involved with the process, but
no,
we come back to have a
Yes.
quorum again. for
Yes.
I'm
discussion.
interested in the process, I just don't think I have time.
well, why don't we do this? Once they set a meeting, would you let Ray know when it is, and if
Sure.
Ray is able to?
Yeah,
That would
I'd be
yeah.
interested in this because I do believe that we need a more structured approach to doing these things. And might save us some money and keep the fire department in great vehicles.
Yes.
too.
Thank you.
That's
That
all.
would be nice if you had such time. Okay, so that's the motion.
Yeah.
Was the yup a second?
Oh, I'll second.
Okay. Tara is seconding. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so little bit behind, but we'll get ourselves back on track. We still have fire department up here. Just very briefly, I think we can do this without taking too much time. We have, there is a meeting scheduled for tomorrow at 6:30, and that will be Ray, Scott, Ed and anybody else from the fire department. Bill Christian, who is the vice chair of the Bennington Energy Committee and also extremely knowledgeable in such matters. We are going to meet at the firehouse, look at the situation with the oil burner that is needs replacing, and see what options we have. There is new money now available for municipalities to convert from fossil fuel to alternative and sources of energy in municipal buildings. So I am always in favor of using other people's money whenever we can. We do have some money set aside for a building repair fund. It's about $40,000 or so. But there may be another use of it. And then now I'm going to turn the floor back over to Ed, because you had mentioned, Ed, that you wanted to discuss some other maintenance matters at the firehouse.
Right. I'm here tonight to see if you guys will let us, and these two can vouch for it, because they came to the firehouse. We want to add on to the shed that we have outside, so we can move all that stuff that you guys saw in the back of the firehouse, so we can walk around out onto that new shed. The cost for that, I was going to take it out of the maintenance, building maintenance. That's $7,500.
How big is the shed?
It's going to be 18 feet.
18
So it's
feet.
going to add, there's 8 there now. We're going to add 10.
Okay.
And if you're looking at the building, it's on the left side?
It's on the left, yes.
So you're adding 18 feet to the
We're
deck.
adding 10 feet. It will be
10
18 feet that we
But
have.
what's the depth of, or the length of the building, I guess?
It's going to be 18 feet.
But how wide is it?
Oh, it's going to be, I believe, 10.
Have you checked with the zoning administrator
As
on
long
this?
as it's not permanent, you don't need a permit.
Okay,
Because it's just going to be bolted, so we can move it.
okay.
Oh, I see.
So,
Okay.
so if it's not, and Norm's not here tonight, I was gonna see the guy, if you guys approve it, if he puts the things out, he could, that saves us a little bit of money just to remove the dirt. So when he comes in to put the slab down. So
I'm quite certain Norm will do that. I wouldn't even know where to begin questioning. Questions, concerns, comments?
This is a prefab building
They're gonna build it from scratch
on site or?
inside.
Who is the they?
I tried to print it out. It's, they're out of North Ridge. It's, I can get that for you in the email too, man.
Okay.
Is this something, well, I would guess this is something the board would be interested in. May we get, because I'm guessing that this is not like an urgent thing that you needed, that you need this decided today. We know that there are a source of funds for this. Perhaps when you all meet, could you just take a quick peek at whatever that is?
Yeah, no,
And-
I think we will tomorrow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
Could I just say something, please?
please.
So in past procedures, and I believe it's in our policies, if you're going to go over $5,000 with a project or purchase, you need more than one bid. You need 3 bids. And you don't necessarily have to take the lowest bid, but they do need to be compared since it is village municipal funds.
Is that our village requirement?
We do have, Lori is right, we do have a purchase policy.
Okay.
Let me look at that because there's a difference between a bid and a quote. And there are certain things where you have bids and certain things where you have quotes. So yes, Lori, thank you. That is something and all of you have the little binders of
3 quotes.
policies. So look at your purchase policy. Huh?
That may have been for bids, but not quotes.
I don't know.
That might be. a
We
bit-
have to look at our purchase. Did you look at the village purchase policy? Where did you find that one?
That is.
I'm just wondering if that's a new document or an old document. We redid these policies about 3 years ago. It could be, yeah. Well, thank you, Lori. That's actually good. We'll take a peek at our purchase policy. Nevertheless, we can continue to gather information on that.
Do you want free?
We will look at the purchase policy and see what is recommended and see where this falls into.
And this is like a frame structure, wood structure?
Metal roof, same
Metal
metal
roof.
there.
Oh, so it matches, let's see.
Okay,
I have to go pay attention.
yes, okay. Well, thank you. We are back on track. Thank you, Ed. We will see you tomorrow. You're welcome to stay. Did you have another comment?
I just have, we have some issues with drainage. In the front of the firehouse, where the drain from the drain runs over to the river, that's caving in.
I did mention that to you, mentioned that. I did mention that to Norm. It's on his long list of things to do to come and see you.
All right, that's something that it's getting worse, it's falling down. And I just don't want to pull in the trucks out there and have that.
I did mention that to him. He's the village things, the sidewalk was like first and foremost, and then he worked on the culvert grant that we just got, and then the other culvert, but he does know about that, and I will remind him. I will remind him. He did say he'll look at that.
One thing that I wanted to, is the floor where the trucks park. It's due to be painted, and sealed. That comes out to about $15 square foot.
How much square
They have
footage?
it, we did it ourselves, and I prefer that a professional does it and seals it, and then you can get a good 30 years out of that. So if you could just look into that too.
What do you mean we look into this?
Well, I mean,
When new budget proposal.
you know, when the budget, so like if you want to do it next year, if you want to put in the budget to do next year.
When we
you would
do,
bring that to
when
us.
we do a budget, you will be, and as part of this process with listing all of these maintenance items that need to be replaced or done, this is a perfect example of something that ought to be there, that every 5, 10, 15, however many years, a significant expense is here.
Right, but the thing is
So-
that we talked about, that's gonna take some time, that's, you know.
Right,
Well,
but your next
it's-
budget that's coming up, you can put that to us.
Yeah.
Right, no, I'm
And you
saying-
know, Ed, let me tell you, having done these things for 30 years, capital plans, it's not as difficult as you would think. It just, you don't have to be exact about it. I'm not taking any more time here, but there's been a lot of time that we can be making some progress. But that's a good thing to know. That also is something that the building maintenance reserve
Right.
helps to do. You had briefly mentioned to me, I want to try to keep on track, when we had a telephone conversation, you mentioned to me, unless I misheard you, that the 501c3 Friends of Firehouse, I'm calling it because I don't know what else it is. You said that they raised money, that they were going to be raising money for floor painting. You specifically mentioned floor painting in things that they raise money
We
for.
talked about a lot of stuff. What I said was the firehouse painted it last time,
And you, okay, this,
and we paid for it last time.
right, okay.
Firehouse
okay.
20th anniversary.
I thought that's what you were telling me, that's when I asked you, what type of fundraising do you do?
That's right.
That was an example, not that they are doing that now. I get it.
We
Okay,
did that for his anniversary to paint
Okay.
the walls and.
Yeah.
all right, good. Good. We'll add that to the, add that to the budget list, and any of these other things that you find are major items, get that to these two so they can get that scheduled sooner rather than later. We don't need to wait until August and November to start our budgeting.
Well, we're only doing what we talked about an hour every Monday night. That's because I work, you know what I'm saying, everybody else works, so we're trying to get one truck done. We're moving to the next truck. Then we're gonna move to the brush truck, and then we're gonna move to the stuff that's inside the firehouse. So you guys have an actual, everything's in there. And you know, I can't get people to come in and spend 8 hours to do it, you know? And it's just,
Like you just said, we all have outside jobs,
right. I don't want you to
kids,
think I'm
things like that.
Nothing like that, that's not.
Right,
Okay.
but the overall point is, we're trying to work with you. We had the discussion about what helps us,
Right.
and me as the treasurer to try to make a recommendation to the voting trustees.
Mhm.
You know, so having, coming and saying that the shed needs to be built and the floor needs to be painted, if you have at least one proposal, and then if we needed 2 or 3, that helps us. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, to say that you need the floor painted, okay, not disagreeing with you in any way, shape, or form. But how can the trustees and then me to take a look at the building and maintenance fund know how much that should be?
Well, I mean, it's 1575 a square foot,
That's one.
Okay. Yeah, but times how many square feet, you know, do,
you're looking at about, to paint the floor and seal it, you're looking at about 19,000.
okay.
What?
Okay.
But again, I think what we're looking for is, rather than a telephone call or a verbal conversation, an actual quote from somebody or something that shows dimensions, so that we're not guessing what that stuff is.
The reason why I come here to ask you before I go get those quotes, because if you say, you know, I don't think we should paint the
Okay,
floor, you know what I'm saying?
I feel like I'm in Alice in Wonderland or something. I just can't go here.
I
anymore.
think basically we have to say to all of it. Because they're not budgeting this stuff. We've talked to them about it. We've been through this over and over and over again. And then it's like, we need a $450,000 truck, and then we need a $15,000 floor, and then we need a building on the side of the, what the hell? I'm done.
Okay.
Can't even, okay, good night.
I am keeping
to
this,
work on.
yes, thank you. A point of order. I'm keeping this meeting back on track. We are a little behind. I am now moving. Thank you so much. Truly, thank you for coming. These are not easy discussions. We are now moving to the treasurer's report.
Okay.
See you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, cash balance report went out. I'll be happy to answer any questions. There was, I don't think anything significant changed. We did in June, we got all of our funding moved around. So all of the reserve funds were funded. We do have 2 new reserves under the highway, which is the tree removal and the garage fund. So those reserves were created and funded. The fire truck reserve did go up by the 20, which I briefly mentioned when I was doing the calculations a little bit ago. So long story short, all the funding happened prior to June 30th and moved around. So the cash balance report does look different, but most of it is just the moving around.
And if I may, Doug, I think it's important to note that we did talk about the sidewalk work that is not coming out of the sidewalk reserve. That was budgeted in our regular lines of expense. But do note that under the depot reserve, there's $24,000 in there. As of now, we'll have whatever we budget, another couple $1,000s as of next year. So Norm does not yet know what the roof repair is going to be for this depot. He is getting that from Doxy. They had told him last fall when the project was deferred that they would hold their price, but he will get what that is. And we will either elect to use these reserve funds. I hate to drain reserves on a project, or I think we are going to be in a positive situation with regards to highway funds when we close our year. So we may see what creatively we can do to assign an overage to another year. Thank you. I didn't mean to
Thank you. No,
interrupt you.
absolutely.
Do we know what the price of the roof work is?
We don't. Norm is getting that.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
This roof right here,
Yes, the lower roof that's
slope.
overhanging. Yes, that's overhanging
over the side.
the sidewalk.
Yeah, okay, that will not be as cheap.
Okay, that's my report. Hearing no questions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That was zippy. Did
Did
anybody have a
Was that
question?
in an attachment?
Yes.
I'm missing a lot of these attachments. I don't know, they're probably on my computer.
Yes.
Yeah, I
tried
sent-
to print everything out
Yes.
last night and I
Okay.
missed the old late June.
Well, if you would
bills.
like,
Yeah.
Scott and I try to get together before this meeting and look at all the attachments. We will invite you to our meeting.
How about that?
You're negative.
Okay, not a problem. Okay, let's see. Let me get back on track here.
DRB.
DRB.
Okay, the DRB is having a meeting this upcoming Tuesday, July 19th at 7 PM here, presumably. The issue that is on new business is an extension of the existing zoning permit as issued on 7/22 of 2021 for an accessory building / barn located at 201 Honeysuckle Lane. That is all.
So that is the extension. That was this, is it the
The extension
same?
of this permit, it's the same building.
Okay, it's the extension of the permit, not the extension of the prior meeting.
Correct.
Okay,
The extension of the existing permit that has been issued for
Okay.
over a year, or will be soon,
Okay.
over a year.
all right.
That's the business.
That is the business for the DRB meeting next Tuesday.
And it is in this section of the depot.
as far as
I
know.
believe that's correct, Lori, and that the water
Yes.
department is using the other
Yes.
side.
I notified the water department. I asked them if they would move to the other side and they said that they would do that. So
Thank you,
Lori.
Lori. Thank you for noting that.
Okay.
Is this a Zoom meeting?
It has a Zoom link, yeah,
Who sets it up?
Billy Rogers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So does he have he must have his own Zoom account.
I imagine he does. I don't know, he sets it up.
He
sends us
probably
a
knows for
link.
his work.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't want to delay our discussion here, but other village meetings that are on Zoom such as this, they're all recorded to the cloud
Okay.
and it's a public meeting. So you should find out whether he records that and if a recording is available.
Got it.
Not just in case anybody asks, since it's public. Okay, did you have anything else to add, or did other trustees have any questions for Tara and the DRB? Hearing none, let's move right over to the Planning Commission. So the Planning Commission actually met. Woo.
Woo!
That was after we reorganized, and I'm trying to find my notes. Here they are. There was a kind of a reorganization and get to know you meeting on June 28th. It was here in the depot. Chris Damon, Kim Hall, Bob Howe, Matt Patterson, and I were here. We kind of discussed what we're going to do to get ourselves revitalized. It appears that there had not been regular meetings for some time. After begging for various volunteers to look at things and take over and organize. Kim Hall and I are co-chairs of this commission. We are only going, well, at least I am only going to go do so until we can find up to 2 new members who are knowledgeable in this arena and who would be willing to come aboard and take a co-chair or a chair position. Bob Howe and Matt both would happily step down after all of their many years of service, leaving that there. We will be, this committee will be setting a regular meeting schedule. At the moment, it is the 3rd Sunday of the month, 10 o'clock right here. That's not likely going to be the one that goes forever, but it seems to go for the summer. Jim Sullivan, BCRC, who is actually retiring, is very helpful in all of this and will continue to volunteer with us, but he will not meet on Sundays. So there's,
Meet on Sundays, that's what you're proposing?
that's the proposal was for right now. That seemed to accommodate the schedule of the
Yeah.
5 of us who are here.
That was just because that's basically the only day I could meet and create a,
Yeah, I got you.
yeah.
I understand
So-
that.
So, and we, with Matthew's years of experience, he is too humble to say, but he is a wealth of knowledge. So we need him at these meetings until those who are new can feel like we're up to speed. So that's the report from us,
Can I ask you
hopefully.
a quick question?
Yes, please.
When I was on the planning commission, we revamped, the whole bylaws and everything, and that's supposed to be done periodically. So when was the last time that was done?
That was done in 2018.
Oh, so
that
we're
is
good
one-
for a while.
Yeah, well, that is actually one of the things that the commission is looking at. And there is a long process to do this. The committee will talk about various things, get some legal opinions, get BCRC assistance with some things. Then some proposals come to the trustees, or suggestions or ideas come to the trustees. And then those things go to public meetings.
Yeah,
But,
I know.
yeah, but then
So
in
when
addition,
when is the next revision?
This year,
Matt-
next year, so there's a couple different things we're engaged with, but yes, the BCRC has already notified us that it's time for this new, do this again, because they get the grants to help us do it.
So it's every
Yeah.
5 years?
So are we talking about the bylaws or the?
Bylaws.
Yeah.
so there's a bylaw and then there's the village plan, correct, Matthew?
Right, so we're working on the plan as well. We're working on both of them right now. And they have different timetables. And I can't tell you exactly right now which is what, but we're, thankfully the BCRC kind of tells us, you got to do this now, and then we do it.
Mhm.
And this is why we've been getting into the other discussion with the planning commission, which is dealing with some issues with the current zoning that we would like to maybe modify to help the syndicate with some redevelopment options with some properties, and how the zoning right now might not allow for that. So this is the great contributions that come from Kim Hall, who has been looking at ways that they could do what what the syndicate wants to do with these properties up by the post office, within the current bylaws, and there might need to be some changes that could allow for some good affordable housing, rethinking how we can increase density in our community, which would increase, tax capacity and all that. So that was the discussions we had in that first meeting. And I think in our next meeting on Sunday,
Oh, I wrote it down here. 17th.
that we will just kind of have a planning meeting, and start looking at that. But yes, we need to start putting forth thinking that will change. We made some major changes in the zoning maybe 10 years ago, and now we need some refinement, because the state comes back with different regulations that, oh, things have changed, you have to do it this way, and so we have to look at it again. But that's where we're heading now. So anybody interested, show up.
And yes, and then, like Matt was saying, you're also looking at a village plan together with this, and things kind of dovetail in certain ways. So then you want to start thinking, well, what are your overall goals and visions for the community? Because we don't want to seem like you're tailoring a bylaw to one organization or one project. So what are the overall goals and visions for how to accommodate the changing needs and the real needs economically and otherwise of the village, to, like Matt said, the housing, the density, the revitalizing or ability to access a village center and accommodate families and retired people, et cetera, et cetera. So it's the beginning of a very, very long process. So if there's any of the listening public who's still awake and has some interest or expertise in the planning arena, please do let us know. We would happily take new members on the committee.
And I would just like to say that we do have new blood and new interest in the planning commission, and we've got Chris, our old zoning admin, and Kim Hall. These people are dedicated. So if anybody else wants to hop on and really jump in, that'd be great.
Thank you. I'm going to move along to the water department. Just one very brief update. The water project, I'm not going to go into detail, just suffice it to say the water issue that was happening up on Prospect and Mechanic Street, those are resolved for the time being. We will still, as mentioned, under the highway department, Norm and I are going to work together with VTrans and BCRC, look at grant opportunities for doing some more detailed drainage in that section of the village. Since there are no citizens here, I will forego over the citizen comments. And there are four, is there any other new business, let me ask, before I move to there's 4 items of old business.
The only thing I think of is that email that I did forward to you about the train idling.
Oh, the train idling. I did not note that on here. Thank you for that.
Yeah. I was contacted by a citizen saying that the train was idling for a substantial amount of time at a very early hour recently. They said they understood that it probably wasn't within our power to do anything, but perhaps we could find out why it was doing so.
Okay. I will
We've looked
Matt?
into that on multiple occasions, probably 20 different incidents is in the last many years. The railroad will just say, suck it up.
Yeah, I did mention that to the citizen in question and said that I remembered last time when we had an issue, the Hoosick Junction was down and they were doing all the brake tests here. And that's why we had that issue where like kids couldn't get to their parents because the train was in the way. So I think they understood that it wasn't really within our power, but that I would bring it to the board so that we
Okay.
could
Thank you.
wonder. Maybe it was an
And you know-
isolated incident.
You know, this is also something when we start, and it is a long process to do. But when we embark on, and it's not an if, it's a when, we embark on looking at getting this municipal planning grant, all of this stuff is going to kind of come into play, and we'll have some expertise to weigh in on all these annoying issues that our residents have and see what can be done. So we should keep that one in mind, indeed. Did any other trustee have any other new business to bring up?
I would just like to thank Mary for the work. I mean, all the work, but particularly this water issue that we had up here on the hill. You obviously were contacted multiple occasions by all the affected people, and I'm hearing an echo, and I don't know what you're hearing, but you got it done, and you just made a lot of people happy all over here on the hillside.
Well, thank you. That is, I think, what any trustee would do. And thank goodness I'm retired. That's all I can say.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I'm beginning
Okay.
to understand why boards like this are
Yeah.
composed of a certain demographic.
Yes, all people.
Exactly.
If I may, we do need to vote on that. We will make today, Monday, whatever day, be the effective date for those 11 posted ordinances. They were adopted back in February, and the last section on all of those ordinances specified how they would be posted and made effective with the effective date. We kind of missed that window, so we did it again. Lori got everything posted in the banner, and you did see that bill for that. So copies were put everywhere we could think of putting copies. We did say they were in the depot, but I couldn't get them fit in this darn window. But they're elsewhere. They are ready to go on our new website when that gets going. So we do need to vote that these are now effective. The next step in that is that, Lori, I'm happy to give you this other copy that I made. And we need signatures of the trustees who were the trustees when these were put into place. Yes, I think you're the only, and Matthew, you were here. So maybe we can get a time where these can all be signed. There's 11 of them, so there's 11 signatures needed. And then the copy of all of these signed ones, I'll give it to you first, and then how about if I get it back from you whenever. And then copies of this have to be taken to the Bennington Police Station, which I'm happy to do. And then I will also make sure that every trustee has copies of all of these. There was one of the ordinances that was looked at that was not, I elected not to do. And that was because I believe it was ordinance 17. But then what was actually adopted, it wasn't clear from the Bennington website until I looked at it a bunch of times, was the section that they actually redacted, not the section that they kept. So we'll get to that one when we get to the next round of ordinances. So
Can I ask Lori, what was the date that those went into the newspaper?
That's a hard ask.
no,
She's getting
We
her
did it.
paper out.
We did it.
I've got my paper at home.
Lori, you're muted.
I'm sorry. It was June 18th.
Okay, so we're almost 30 days out from that. My question is, legally, do we have to do it from when they were posted to the public?
From what I understood, after that was done, it's now,
Retroactive?
no, it's not retroactive. It's whenever we now decide it's going to be
Oh.
done. But it was a minimum, read that in there.
60 days. So Bennington Banner should be documented in the minutes, posted in 5 places, and summary published in the Bennington Banner within 14 days of its adoption. We missed that window. And shall be in full force 60 days after the date of adoption, subject to the right of petition as provided by law.
Yes, and this is where the subject, so we're past the 60 days of adoption.
Yeah.
So now that it's been published, it's when this board decides they're effective.
July 15th, 2022.
Second,
It's a few days from now.
Friday.
Matthew,
Agreed.
was that a motion?
Well, I
I
think.
make, yeah, go ahead.
oh, right.
I make a motion that we have them in full effect on July 15th, 2022.
Was that loud? I didn't
No,
vote on
it
it.
has to be.
And I will second that.
Okay, Matthew, seconding, all in favor?
I,
Aye.
Right?
Yay. The next thing, I just simply need which I will happily make this motion, is that we adopt the local emergency management plan, the LEMP. I did send this out to people
Yes.
a while ago. Yes,
So moved.
thank you.
getting the.
Ray's moving us along. Ray made a motion to
You did it.
approve it. I will second this. We'll do it. Okay. So
Thank
I
you.
will get that one done. The next thing is just
We
very
have to
brief.
vote. Did we
Oh, we
vote?
did. Aye.
Aye.
I thought, I heard
Sorry, we have
Matt
to
say.
vote.
I thought, I
Give us
heard Matt say that it
second,
done.
move and second.
The website, we are moving along on the website. It's still going to be done. There was a little bit of a technical issues, but there's a lot of content that's getting there, and we should be having another meeting in another week or two. Did you also?
As soon as Lucy's
Yes.
ready to rock.
Yes, as soon as Lucy. So that's still live and going. The last thing I just want to simply mention is hazard mitigation. That is, that plan or proposed plan is both on BCRC and Fund for North Bennington sites, because we don't yet have ours. That is up there for public comment until September 1st, at which time there is a process then for continued public meetings, and it will be back in front of the
So
board.
that's on the BCRC side?
It's both on the BCRC site and the Fund for North Bennington site.
And our lovely Allison has had her child.
Apparently so. So I have nothing more to say.
Yeah.
Does
Motion
anybody
to
else have
adjourn.
something? Scott has made a motion to
I'll second
adjourn,
that.
Bravo.
and we are
Yeah.
5 minutes ahead of schedule. Thank you all.
Thank you, Cat TV.
Lori, did you get everything you need for minutes?
Yes, I just had a question for Doug, which is not part of the meeting really, but Doug, so I'm looking for checks in a bag, and just give me a thought of when you might drop that off.
checks I will drop off to you in the next 15 minminutes.
Oh, okay.
Once I leave here, I brought them with me. Mary and I have not talked about the bag, so can
Sure.
I hold on to that till, I believe we have our meeting on Friday, right, for the tax? So probably on Friday, Mary and I will talk about that. So if you're okay with that, I'll keep that and I'll get you the checks in about 15 minutes.
That's fine. Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everyone.
Cat TV is celebrating 30 years of community media. Help support Cat TV's next 30 years by becoming a member today. Your membership will help us continue covering meaningful, local content. Thank you for supporting your local community media station.